In this video I'm going to teach you about hybrid functions. Now they're also called mixed functions or piecewise functions, and they all mean the same thing. Basically it's one function that's formed from different rules. So we can see on this particular graph, this is the function, the whole thing is f of x, but it's a bit disjointed. So we're going to write this down as the whole function, but we can see there's a closed circle here when the domain is 0 here, and it goes with an arrow, so we know that goes to negative infinity. We also can see that the rule for this line is x plus 1. We see an open circle at 0 here, and we can see the function itself is x squared, but it goes up to positive infinity. So I'm just going to write this as a hybrid function. So to do this, we write it as f of x, and then we just use the subset bracket. And then you state each rule and write the domain next to it. So let's begin here. So we've got x plus 1, and this works for, now, negative infinity is where it begins. So it goes for negative infinity all the way up to when x is 0. And of course 0 is included because it's a closed circle, so I'm going to use a square bracket. Then we move to the next part of the piecewise or hybrid function. Begins at 0, so it's x squared for this rule. And this works for values of x where 0 is not included, so we use a round bracket, all the way up to positive infinity. But of course we always use a round bracket for that one. And this is what we call a hybrid function. Okay, on the screen here on my left you can see another hybrid function. I'm not going to sketch this one because I haven't got any squared or grid paper on here. But there is an example. If you're using the Cambridge textbook, there is an example of this particular hybrid function, so you can always have a look at what the graph would look like. I'll also show you in another video how you can sketch this on your Casio ClassPads. So what we've got here is this function is made up of 3 particular rules with restricted domains. So we have the first part of the rule is from minus x minus 1. We know that's a straight line graph, and we're only looking for when x is less than 0, not including 0. So if we were to draw that on a graph, we would have an open circle for the end point of that line. Now it's going all the way down, so you'd have an arrow. The next part of the function is also in the form y equals mx plus c. We can see it's a straight line function, 2x minus 1, where the gradient is 2 and the y-intercept is minus 1. Now when we draw that particular segment of the line, it's including both 0 and 1. So we would use closed circles for that particular section of this function. And then finally, this is another straight line. This is gradient half, y-intercept is a half. And again, there's an open circle because 1 is not included within the domain. So when we drew that segment of the line, it goes all the way up to positive infinity and it's greater than 1. So we would have an arrow going upwards, and you'd begin with an open circle. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about the hybrid function.